Hand-me-downs. Do we like hand-me-downs? If anybody's come from a big family, we know what that is. Where for me, I'm the second oldest of 5 boys. So it meant that I was always wearing my older brother's hand-me-downs when it got too small for him. This also meant that my younger brothers had to wear my hand-me-downs when it was too small for me. But my brothers and I actually didn't mind wearing the hand-me-downs, especially if it was a sports jersey we liked. We couldn't wait until the older brother outgrew it, so we got it. But in wearing these hand-me-downs, my mom would try to preserve them as much as she could by putting patches on them when we got holes in them. And a lot of times after I was done with the clothes, it was more patches than cloth. And that's when my mom had to say to my brothers that we needed to buy new clothes even if we didn't want it. Sometimes in our lives, we need people to point out to us that it's time for something new, that the patches don't work anymore. Where if we keep on patching things or go through the motions in life, things won't get better. We may need a different perspective in life. It may be time for something new. I'm thinking of this as I was thinking about our Archbishop Nelson Perez homily that he had in the Chrism Mass a few days ago. He talked about in his own life, younger as a seminarian, that the patches in his life were not working anymore. He needed something new. He said that it was his last year at St. Charles Seminary, and he's about to become a priest. And after all the years of formation, after praying, he felt deep inside of his heart and mind that God was calling him to be a priest. He said, "Got it, God. I know very clear you want me to become a priest." Now the question was whether he wanted to become a priest or not, why he should be a priest. He said, "God, I understand that you want me to do this, but actually, I am not sure if I want to do it. And I'm not sure if I'm passionate to become a priest." And he spent most of that last year at the seminary questioning whether he should be a priest or not. So a month before he gets ordained, the question is coming up more and more in his heart. And as he's praying about it and thinking about it and struggling with it, he could almost hear God saying to him, "Really? Really? It's a month about to be ordained, and now you're questioning if you want to do it or not?" But he did. As he said in this time of trial, that it was a lot for him because he invested all his youth, a lot of his time, talent into the seminary. And now it's February of that year, and he's praying about it, whether he should do it or not. And at that time, it was when the seminary appeal would happen, when the seminarians would go out to a parish and ask for them for a support in prayer and financial support as well. And the seminary would always give us a script to do it. They would tell us to talk about our vocation story, as well as ways to ask for help. This year he was sent to a parish, and in that seminary appeal, he went off the script and said to the congregation this: "You know, people always ask us seminarians, what made you want to become a priest?" And he said to that people that day, "I'll have to be honest with you. And the last several years, I could name you 15 things why I should become a priest. But today, he said to them, I don't know if I want to become a priest, and I don't know if I should become a priest. But please pray for me and give us money. Yes, that's our Archbishop now. He said that is the way it came out. And at the end of Mass, as we normally do, he's standing by the back doors waiting to greet people. And while he's greeting people, he didn't get anybody to come up to him and say, isn't that great? Or how courageous you are? Or how wonderful you are? As he said was, as he was standing in the back door, he knew that it did not sit well, the message he said to the people. And instead of people shaking his hand, they just kind of walked right by him without making any eye contact to him. And this happened with every single person trying to avoid him just getting through the door. Until the very last person, he said this elderly woman was the only person who stopped in front of him and says, Sir, I am going to tell you why you should become a priest. And inside of him he said very sarcastically, yes, please tell me something that I haven't already tried to figure out in 8 years. But I'm sure you're going to tell me something different. As he admitted, he was very cynical about this person. So this woman took his hands, grabbed them very tightly, turned them around, and kissed them. Looks him in the eyes and says, do you know why you should become a priest? Because I need you. Because I need you. And she just walked away. He never saw her again. He said that I think she was a messenger from God, because no one has ever told me that. No one has ever told me that I need you, that I need you to become a priest. He said that day changed everything from him. As the old patches came off, and God gave him something new, a new heart. That day changed it from being an obligation to a calling. We are all called to be disciples of Christ. So all honesty right now on this Easter day, is it an obligation or a calling? Have we allowed someone to touch our heart? Have we allowed God to touch our heart, to know that He's real and He's alive? If not, are we open to allow the old patches to come off and someone to touch us emotionally and spiritually? The resurrection from the dead encourages us to new life. The risen Lord can be the brightest light of our lives if we only open our minds and hearts in faith. If we take a chance and trust Him, even if it's scary. So how do we do it? I once again want to share one of my favorite prayers that I've shared before. It is from Father Pedro Arupe, where he says this: there is nothing more practical than finding God, than falling in love with Him in a quite absolute and final way. What you are in love with, what seizes your imagination, will affect everything. It will decide what will get you out of bed in the morning, what you do with your evenings, how you spend your evenings and weekends, what you read, whom you know, what breaks your heart, and what amazes you with joy and gratitude. Fall in love with God and stay in love with God, because it will decide everything.